What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing another video. This weekend was the Boston Breach Breaking Point Next tournament. It was a challengers tournament showcasing upcoming and existing talent and challengers in both North America and Europe. Let's break down the winners, the teams that played well, the players that played well, people to watch going into the cups coming up later this month. Let's dive in and discuss. So let's start over in Europe. These were the 4 squads that competed in the tournament. You see Team Denza, they actually played under the Elevate banner for this tournament. And a lot of names you might be familiar with, like Brezzy, like Journey, Gizmo, Harry. These are all players, Vortex as well, players that have played the CDL or CWL level. But a couple of new names, and in particular one that I thought played really well in the squad. So let's talk about it. So here was the result of the tournament, and that Elevate squad, that Gizmo Harry team that I just talked about, ended up taking it in the grand finals, beating a squad whose name I'm totally about to butcher, Awababobs. If I got that right, let me know in the comments, because I don't know how to pronounce this team's name. Anyway, Elevate beat them twice. Of note, by the way this format works, the team in the grand finals in the best of 5 actually gets 1 map. So they only play 4 maps, but Elevate did actually end up winning 2 maps and taking the series 3-0. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any stats from the whole tournament, so here are some stats from the grand finals, and a couple of players in particular I want to talk about on this list. I think first off, and the player that I think had probably the most buzz coming out of Europe by Saturday night was Abuza. And that's a name maybe those who are more familiar with the European challenger scene might know. Someone that I actually wasn't super aware of candidly before this tournament. So Abuza is actually a player who's not like super young. I looked it up. He's from Belgium. He's 22 years old. He's actually been competing since IW, playing mostly locals up until about the Black Ops 4 year. It was just kind of floating between a lot of like top 24, top 48 teams, and really had a breakout year last year in Vanguard, teaming with a number of different players such as Jerd, Whalers, and Brezzy, and he sort of carried that on to being on a top team this year. And man, he really showed out in this tournament. Again, these are just the stats from the grand finals, so if you dig around, you can find stats from the series he played. A lot of buzz about him again. I think the only question with him is let's see what he does if this team is able to qualify for the pro side of the competition in Raleigh, or even if they do well in the open bracket there. And also, like, for his future prospects potentially being the CDL, can he speak English? I've seen his tweets. He has some tweets in French, he has some tweets in English, so not sure what his English speaking capabilities are like. If someone in the comments can let me know, but if he is able to master English, I think his stock has gone up way high after Saturday. But if not, that's the only sort of big question mark about him. But super talented, looks really good this game. Brezzy also played really well in this tournament as well. Has been around for a minute, really well known from his play over in the CWL years. Hasn't really had a CDL chance since being involved in the first kind of year of the CDL. Someone that I thought might get a chance this season. I wonder if maybe visa issues got in the way. He's a really exciting player and someone that I think CDL teams should be looking at. And over on the winning squad, Harry and Gizmo had some pretty decent performances, as well as Vortex. Again, players that have been around for a second, just like Brezzy, known quantities in Europe. Curious to see if any of them really have a mega standout performance when we get to LAN in Major 1, because again, as we've talked about time and time again, I think really the point to an extent of this tournament is getting exposure for these guys, because we expect, like any year, 9 to 10 teams are going to make changes, might be bringing in new players in from challengers, and if teams don't do good after Major 1, they'll have a decent amount of time to maybe figure out how to bring a European player in. All right, so let's talk about the North American side. This is on Sunday. I couldn't find a bracket that was sort of finished, but Team Exceed was drawn by Team Hixie in the grand finals. In a second, I'll show you the names of all the players that competed, and a lot of really good talent in this tournament. Team Exceed ended up taking the thing in a pretty good quality grand finals. And I think taking a look at the list of these players, again, you see a lot of names that are mainstays in challengers and a lot of ex-pros. It's kind of crazy how it's become in North America, right? It used to be a lot of, for a number of years, probably like Black Ops 4, sort of World War II years, you always had a couple like edge pros, but it was mostly a lot of up and coming talent. And now, which are there only being 12 teams in CDL, you've got a lot of players on this list who I think probably should be on CDL pro teams, but are not because there's not enough spots. A player I thought that had a really good tournament and probably should be on a CDL team is Tom Gravity, even at the top of the list in overall KD. Absolutely fried in S&D this weekend. I think he had a map where he got like 16 kills in S&D. Look, like when it comes to Tom, I've always thought that he's been, again, someone that I think gets unlucky due to the politics of being in that main AR spot. Maybe an area where he can kind of improve and try and get himself to stand out, but the talent's always been there for Tom. And if he's not going to get on a pro team at least to start the year, expect this squad with him, Dave, Pixie, and Cap to be a top amateur team, probably make the play-in, and we'll see if they're able to qualify for the pro side of Major 1 at Raleigh. Let's talk about a couple other players that played well. Beans is definitely next on the list. Playing from over in Europe, actually. He was not in North America for this tournament, so he's playing on a high ping, and man was doing his thing. As we watch this S&D clutch that he has, the thing with Beans for me is he's a fantastic AR player, and everyone has really been making the connection on, is he going to replace Zin? Is he going to maybe rotate in for Big Wake if Big Wake struggles? I think many, unlike many of the players I think on the list of on the NA side, I think Beans definitely has a chance to play this year in the CDL, because I do think Boston, there's a good likelihood will make a change at some point this season, because their aspirational goal is pretty high, I think, in the second year of this project. But he showed this weekend that he's got what it takes. Curious with the visa situation when he'll be able to relocate to North America, because if he is in Europe, like, he wouldn't be able to play the cup this weekend per the rules. So curious to see what happens with his situation over the next couple of weeks on the immigration front. Final player that I want to highlight is Joe Deceives. If you've been paying attention, he will be the rumored Los Angeles Guerrillas substitute player. And some of the North American top AMs definitely had some tough things to say about that on Twitter over the last month or so. I think a lot of them feel sort of hard done that someone like Joe is coming in, just turning 18, and able to kind of lock down a CDL substitute spot where a lot of other players have been grinding for a couple of years. My response to that is that's just the business and people investing in potential future talent. And Joe showed that in this tournament that he's got what it takes to hang, at least at the challengers level. You know, we will see with Joe what happens when he goes to LAN and how he does in his first couple of events. I think just like Beans, another player who historically on their squad, a team that's made some changes. So there's a decent chance that Joe might be featuring for a CDL squad, specifically the Los Angeles Guerrillas at some point this season. Good showing from him in the first tournament with his team actually going up and winning the whole event. And I think this team, especially with Assault and Exceed, is probably good money to make the play-in for Major 1. And curious to see if they're able to showcase in the Pro Black bracket and show what they got. And actually, I don't really know in sort of that situation. I assume Joe's eligible to play, right? Even though that he's a substitute for LA Guerrillas. But that's an interesting question. I don't know if they actually do end up qualifying for the Major 1 pro group stage, and he's also got potential substitute duties for another team in the tournament. And as we have full stats for North America, a couple of players that struggled, but I wouldn't read too much into it. It's just one tournament. Money Mohawk, and really the whole Mohawk team had a really tough time in hardpoint at this tournament, looking at Saints stat line and Desi's stat line there. Blast was also on their squad as well. This is sort of an interesting team, especially with Blast, Saints, and Desi, who have been kind of on that borderline between pro and not pro for a number of years. They're a team I look to see has to be a favorite to make the play-in on North America side, but again, it's very competitive. They looked good in S&D, struggled in hardpoint. We'll see what they bring next weekend. And a surprisingly poor stat line for Hixie. I'm not sure what was up with that. They did play a good number of maps, making it pretty deep in the tournament, but he didn't play particularly well. So we'll see if he's able to turn it around in future competitions as the Challengers Cups get going. And that'll do it for this video. A lot of players that definitely helped out their stock this weekend via this tournament. Big shout out to Boston and Breaking Point for running this thing. Look, it's not a massive upside business in running these type of tournaments. They're not going to get a bankload of viewers, although a number of CDL pros throughout the day on Saturday and Sunday were tuning in on their streams watching the tournament. But I respect those two organizations for doing something for the community, and they should get props for that. Let me know in the comments what you all think about the tournament, about some of the players. Any ones that I missed you think played well in this tournament, let me know. Any players you think that really struggled and you think there are reasons why, let that be known in the comments as well. I think on the Challengers front, there will be a cup coming up this weekend. So we'll be providing coverage of that probably next Monday with our takeaways after the tournament, as well as on the Challengers front, and really in from the pro side as well. We're expecting a rule set to come out. I'm recording this around 9:30 in the morning, Monday morning on the 7th. At some point around noonish usually is when this info drops. I'm expecting to see the V1 rule set today, and I will be breaking that down probably in my next video, so be tuned in for that. And if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy the content, and as always guys, we will see you on the next one.